Hi guys, Higgs here and welcome back to the channel. When Avowed was shown at last year's Developers Direct, I was pleasantly surprised, and to be totally honest, this was one of those rare occasions where I found myself looking forward to a first party Xbox title. Fast forward to now, and media outlets along with creators have been hands on with a preview, and the word on the street is it's looking good. But with everything these days, good comes with bad, and that bad is pronouns in video games. But before we move on, if you enjoyed the video at any point, press the like button and don't forget to subscribe. So we're going to be looking at two reviews in this video, and to start us off, it will be IGN's final preview as they call it. Destin was the chosen one, and his headline reads, "We continue to be more impressed with Obsidian's fantasy RPG every time we play it." He carries on with, "Even after a positive preview for Avowed this summer, I found myself wondering if it was a fluke. Maybe it was just a fun mission. Maybe Obsidian won't be able to keep my interest as more quests are discovered. Maybe it was just a nice day. Nope, Avowed is just a lot of fun." Coming fresh off trying out Dragon Age the Vilgard, I was so happy when I discovered just how evil I could be to people I met along the way, right from the start of Avowed. Something Vilgard just didn't fulfill. Yes, that is definitely true. From the start, I had one NPC dropping F-bombs because I was going to leave her in prison. A short while later, a duo would try to intimidate me on a bridge, only to meet a swift demise. I wasn't in the mood for their nonsense, I just wanted to be evil. And while I could have handled it the nice way, sometimes being evil is just more fun. So this is really good to hear. Not just because of the little dig at the evergreen Dragon Age Vilgard characteristics, but it's refreshing to hear the player has a choice of how they want to interact with the world and be able to mould the kind of character you want to be. It's good to know Obsidian are carrying that trend on into Avowed. The article goes on, "Even the vendors have unique banter. I had the chance to meet Valtor, the ex-husband of another nearby vendor, Dagurda, and the two would talk badly about each other after their failed marriage. Another vendor had a past relationship with my companion Kai and warned him not to cross her again. These little beats do a lot to make the world feel like it has a history that you'll uncover more of that as you adventure. I love these dangling threads that are teased." So NPCs having a bit of backstory and personality is another good detail. Far too many games these days don't really have that in-depth writing. In an RPG, I think you need to have that, as that's what the player wants, an immersive experience. Destin does touch on combat, which is something I've got my eye firmly on, and he says this: "On the combat front, I also immediately noticed improvements, especially in the sound department. Obsidian clearly spent a lot of time working on the audio and combat flow, and it's immediately noticeable. The sound spikes are so satisfying to hear when you've stunned an opponent and can execute a flurry of blows or bullets, or when using stealth and you're able to execute your prey with an ethereal blade." And one addition we got to see for the first time was the ability to use third person or first person combat. Both feel great, and while I personally opted for the first person perspective most of the time, third person is looking and feeling good too. The only slight gripe I have is that the movement can have a bit of that floaty Obsidian style to it in third person, but that doesn't affect combat all too much. Now, sound might not be high on some players' lists, but good sound design can make a certain element of a game. The last thing you want is some janky sound effects. Like in Stalker 2, I've had a few bugs where the weapon sound just disappears and it ruins it for me personally. Being able to switch between first and third person is also pretty cool as well, but I'll probably stay in first person mode, but it's good to have options. The one complaint Destin had was about our companion, who is called Kai, and while I'm discussing minor complaints, knowing full well that Obsidian still has a few months of polish time left, I did feel that your companion Kai was a bit too handholdy with his tips at times. There were a few moments when I was simply scavenging for loot and found him whispering tips about a puzzle in my ear. I know Obsidian is trying to help out players, but it takes away from that feeling of accomplishment you get when solving the mystery for yourself. With the game a few months away, I'm sure Obsidian can make that an accessibility feature which we can turn off and on, as, you know, some players like to figure shit out for themselves, but that is a very minor complaint. Loot was another positive point of discussion. But to get back to the positives, loot was also a highlight. Even early on, upgrading from a bow and arrow to an arquebus felt awesome. The trade-off with the rifle is that it had a long reload time, but once you've upgraded your abilities with it, you'll unlock faster reloads and more damage. So as with every good RPG, the different types of weapons will have their own unique feel and have their own strengths and weaknesses as well. If an upgrade mechanic is done correctly, then the reward of making a weapon feeling better is also worth it. To finish the preview off, Destin had this to say. And that's really the best you can hope for from previews of an RPG like this. You get just enough to leave you wanting more, and Avowed certainly accomplished just that. I want to power up my companion Kai to see what other attacks he can do. I want to discover the coveted weapons the design team told us about during the pre-hands-on presentation. I want to kill more people and betray my friends, and Avowed is empowering me to do exactly that. So a glowing preview from IGN, which does fill me with confidence, even though I don't generally take what IGN have to say too seriously. I really did enjoy Outer Worlds and was hoping Obsidian would take all the great things about that game and evolve them along with expanding them, and it seems like they have done that. Of course, it's one player's opinion and we'll find out in February, but most of the previews are saying the same. But before getting into the other preview breakdown, I will touch on the pronoun situation. So screenshots have emerged of a player choosing pronouns. We do not know if we have the option to leave that blank yet, but players have not reacted too well as expected, as most see this as some form of being woke and pushing a certain agenda onto us. Now, I have no problem if developers want to push this shit in the game, and I know pronouns are part of the basic language. But I've never had to specify my pronouns, and personally I never will, so I'm hoping Avowed gives us the option, unlike Dragon Age the Veilguard, and I also hope there are no stupid side missions about being non-binary and us acting as a therapist, as that isn't needed at all in a fantasy RPG. I'm guessing Avowed will lose customers over this, as people are getting more and more fed up with having this stuff pushed in video games and everyday life, and I totally understand it. When looking to purchase and play a video game, most people will make that decision based on whether it looks fun or has a great story, even good loot, or even has a competitive edge to it. Not if it is inclusive and diverse. As more developers and publishers go down this avenue, I feel they will lose touch with what making a game is really all about. The art director has not done any favours by saying he wants to make Elon Musk mad by creating a woke game. Like, seriously, what is wrong with these guys? You actually need money from your game to keep your job, and these kind of takes are stupid if you ask me, and will only aid in pissing off gamers. It is probably best to concentrate on making sure you make the best game you possibly can without any hidden agendas whilst you are making that game. It's just a stupid take that I hope the rest of Obsidian don't agree with, because I want the best game possible, just like other players do as well. Now, moving on to the next preview, we have Den of Geek, and they put out a good one as well, but it wasn't as forthcoming with the positivity IGN had, and I think it's good to look at different takes as it gives us a clearer picture. So the preview starts off with Avowed. Obsidian's new game is not the RPG you're expecting. Obsidian Entertainment's Avowed has some high standards to live up to, and it's not yet clear how it's going to meet them. The article carries on with, very early on into my hands-on preview of Avowed, I realised those Skyrim comparisons aren't going anywhere anytime soon. Yes, Obsidian and every major press outlet have made it clear that Avowed is not meant to be a Skyrim-like open-world RPG experience. Unfortunately, we live in a time when rationale often succumbs to preconceived notions. Since the Outer Worlds was Obsidian's wink-wink attempt at a Fallout game, people have long looked at the first-person sword and sorcery of Avowed as the studio's own take on Bethesda's beloved fantasy series. In short, this game will be judged by expectations it was never meant to meet. I really hope it isn't compared to Skyrim, because that would just be silly, and to base a game on whether it is good or bad if it doesn't meet a certain other game's criteria just isn't fair. Obsidian are making a fresh game and have denied any comparisons, so I hope it is judged for what it is, and that is Avowed, a new RPG. The preview touched on the story, saying this: though I don't want to breeze past Avowed's narrative, stories are a vital part of any Obsidian game. The fact is that there isn't much to say about it at this time. There's no sense in spoiling any of the finer details, and since the demo I played took place during the game's opening hours, it's far too early to even pretend that I have a decent idea about where Avowed's story is going. But for what it is worth, I'm a little mixed on both these elements of the game so far. Avowed benefits from a vibrant colour palette and some fun world design, but I was surprised to find that certain aspects of the game's world, enemy design, NPC design and some building weapon design specifically, feel somewhat generic in the opening hours. Similarly, Avowed's overreaching narrative is filled with tantalising lore, but individual interactions often lack the wit and depth Obsidian is known for. For instance, the ability to choose multiple dialogue options based partially on your character's skills and backgrounds is there, but those options and the quality of their writing is closer to being funny or fun rather than dynamic or morally complex. This is very slightly concerning, and I say that coming off the back of playing Dragon Age Vilgard, because although it is good to have fun writing, you do want a bit of that grit or sophisticated narrative. I hope the developers have kept a good balance rather than swinging hard in just one direction. The preview carries on. Crucially, your companions also offer special abilities that can be used to navigate obstacles your character may not otherwise be able to overcome. This is one of the more intriguing elements of Avowed's world design. Sections of the map are brimming with resources, treasures, secrets and optional encounters, though some objects like food are marked on your map and radar. Others require you to venture off the beaten path and occasionally utilise skills or items you may or may not have access to at the time. For instance, a melee character with a charge ability may be able to break through a wall, but everyone else will need to find a grenade. This treasure hunting element of the game quickly becomes one of Avowed's biggest draws. It's not that we haven't seen similar concepts in other games, but rather that Obsidian has done a wonderful job of filling these pockets of the world in with a variety of genuinely intriguing discoveries. It helps make these sections feel bigger than they technically are and fleshes out the bigger world they are part of. More importantly, those discoveries often reward you with powerful new items that fuel what is quickly proving to be Avowed's defining feature. I'm liking the sound of Avowed even more after reading that. To have certain characters being able to complete tasks others can't does add some much needed variety in these types of games and adds that immersive feel as well. In Dragon Age The Vilgard, we had the dagger to enable us to carry out certain tasks, drawing away from the importance of companions or other characters. And also the fact Obsidian has managed to add more levels to a structured map with secrets and powerful items makes exploring worth the time investment. There's nothing worse than searching all the little pockets of a map and searching buildings to find no rewards. Respecting the player's time is a great quality for a game to have. The preview finished with this. So far as that goes, Avowed is certainly a fun time. There is a pick up and play quality to the experience that is easy to love, and that's enhanced by the depth of the combat possibilities, dialogue options and the many secrets to be found in the world. It should be a fantastic Game Pass title. If Avowed has another gear to it though, I haven't seen it get there yet. Forget about the other studios. As an action game with RPG elements, Avowed doesn't feel as incentive as Obsidian's espionage third-person shooter Alpha Protocol. As a pure RPG, it's nowhere near as deep or ambitious as the Pillars of Eternity series Avowed shares a universe with. And as a more action-orientated modern RPG that resembles another notable franchise in at a glance, it doesn't currently feel as tight, funny or clever as the Outer Worlds. So my final thoughts from this is, all we want in any game is a fun immersive experience, and it seems we will get that with Avowed. Just being a great Game Pass title isn't enough though. The game needs to be good enough for players outside of that, as Xbox clearly wants to expand and to only have timed exclusives. For me, if it is anything like the Outer Worlds, I'll be happy as I thoroughly enjoyed that game. I would like to add though that being 30 FPS on console is disappointing, and I can't help but think the Series X could support 60, but restrictions from its lesser counterpart have affected that. Let's just hope Obsidian has been locked in on just creating a great game with no political bullshit involved, as that would be a shame. But guys, that is the end of the video. If you've stuck around till the end, thank you so much, and if you've enjoyed the video at any point, press that like button as it helps the channel and the video out massively. And if you haven't already, hit that subscribe button as well for more content in the future. But as always guys, take care and I'll see you in the next video.